Last night I went to the gym and discovered my bike had been stolen. 2 hours later and a lengthy viewing of security tapes, I was on the way to the police station and remembered I had walked there. In what ways has your scumbag brain screwed you over recently? Once I made chicken soup, simmered the carcass for hours with lots of vegetables. Then, when it was all nice and tasty, I grabbed a colander and poured all the liquid down the sink. I just stood there for about 5 minutes, staring at the bones, trying to remember what the next step in soup making was. This is one of my favorite stories in the whole thread. What a hilarious disappointment. Oh man. I recently went to a gas station near my apartment with the intention of buying gas. It was a rare occasion, as I actually had cash. I normally pay for everything on debit. I walked up to the station and gave the man $10. I then proceeded to walk back to my car, get inside, and drive away. It was about 5 minutes later, on the highway, that I realized that I hadn't actually pumped any gas. I was too ashamed to go back. Went to the bank and tried to make a deposit. Teller in training says she can't find my account. I begin to get irritated. I always seem to get the new guy. I ask her to search by my name. Still nothing. Then I realize I'm at the wrong bank. My wife was a teller at Wells Fargo. You have no idea how often this happens. I once forgot to take out my contacts before going to bed. I woke up, put on my glasses as usual, and freaked the frick out because everything was blurry. Tried cleaning my glasses. Nothing would help. Spent about 5 minutes freaking out, thinking I was going blind or something. I did this last night. I wanted to swap contacts for glasses because my eyes were getting tired. Put glasses on and got mad blurry vision. Freaked out and diagnosed myself with a brain tumor. The other day I was sweeping out a freezer at work, and when I went to leave, I realized I was locked in there. I sat in there for 10 minutes trying to pull open the door until someone walked by. I banged on the glass until he opened the door for me. That was when I discovered the freezer door was a push, not a pull. I realized that I'd forgotten to put my watch on when leaving the house to meet a friend, and looked down at my wrist to check whether I had time to go home and get it. I make eggs most mornings. I usually like to crack them near the garbage so I can throw the shells away easily. One day my brain thought it would be funny to crack my eggs into the garbage and then keep the shells. Almost every dang day I pull out my phone to look at the time, only to put it back in my pocket because I forgot what I wanted it for. Alternatively, sometimes I get my phone, look at the time, put it back in my pocket and realize I forgot the time I saw. I am not a smart man. The pipe underneath the sink was leaking, so I had placed a bucket to catch all the water. When the bucket was getting full, I emptied it out on the same sink. Well, if only some of it was leaking, that would work. I was watching TV but felt like a drink, so I got up and walked with the remote to the fridge. I looked in the fridge and saw a bottle of milk that I wanted, so I placed the remote in the fridge, closed the door, and walked back to the television. When I got back in the living room, I had the feeling something was off, and remembered I didn't drink any milk yet. So I turned around, opened the fridge, took a big sip of milk straight from the bottle, and placed the bottle back next to the remote. I go back to sit on the couch. Half an hour later the show's over and I want to change the channel, but I can't find my remote. I looked under all the cushions of the couch and chairs. I scoured through every last inch of the living room before giving up and switching channels manually. I only found out where I left the remote when my brother opened the fridge to make himself a sandwich. I do not like Del Taco, but I was in California on business. There was one right next to my hotel, and I was very tired and very hungry. Long line at the drive-in, inches forward slowly, and I'm trying not to fall asleep in my car. I pay for my meal, collect the food, and drive off before realizing that I never ordered. I had driven right by the order box and paid for collected the meal of whoever was behind me in line. College, 2008. I had a very nice bike stolen from my backyard. It was chained and U-bolted to a support beam, and they cut the support beam to get it. I was walking on campus one day and saw my frame, but it was painted differently and the components were changed. I ran across this field and jumped right in front of the guy riding it. I stopped the bike by grabbing the handlebars head on and standing right in front. Luckily the guy was riding fairly slow. He looked terrified as I held the bike, and him and inspected it to see if it was mine. He says, "What the heck, Em?" And I quickly cut him off. "I think you stole my bike, but I hope you didn't." Was far more intimidating than this skinny dude, so he was terrified. After about 20s I realized it wasn't my frame and I apologized. I said, "Sorry dude, I thought this was my bike and someone wrecked my house when they stole it from me." He responds, "Frick, I'm just happy you didn't beat me up." I felt terrible. I bet you inspired that guy to work out. He'll take his revenge on you soon. I suggest you prepare. I had to post a letter and figured I could do it and take the dog for a walk at the same time. I got to the door, then realized crap, I forgot the letter. So I turn around, go back to get it, and then choose a song to listen to on my phone as I'm walking. I'm walking for about 10 minutes before I realize I never actually picked the envelope up, despite having already forgotten it and gone back for it once before. I still managed to forget it, even though I was literally stood right next to it. So I walked back and got it, and actually picked it up that time. The dog was pretty freaking confused. I was waiting so I go back once again and get the letter and continue to the mailbox. Then it dawns on me, I forgot the effing dog. I was driving to work, which was about 15-20 minutes away, when I realized that I forgot my keys. Even though I was halfway there and I was going to be late, I went ahead and turned around. When I got back home and looked for my keys, I was frustrated that I couldn't find them. Then I realized I was holding them because I had been driving. I hate this crap. I'll be talking on my cell, and by habit, I pat my pockets to make sure I have my wallet, keys, and cell in their respective places. So yes, while talking on the phone I start freaking out because I can't find my phone. Once I lost my car keys, couldn't for the life of me find them, started to panic, got my family and my friend who was with me to look all over the house. Had to use my spares to get around, but the set of key I lost had my padlock keys on them too. Anyway, the next day I found them in the freezer. Had to use a hairdryer to unstick them from the shelf. I have no idea why I put them in the freezer. My freshman year in college I lost my car keys for 2 weeks. I had to get my parents to send me a spare so that I could use the car. I eventually gave up looking for them and was going to call the school to get replacement keys for my dorm room and mailbox, etc. Then my friend decides to do the dishes for the first time in a month and my keys are at the bottom of the sink. Went to the petrol station the other night to get some fuel. I keep minimal money in my debit card account to try and save money and build interest in my other account. Got to the station after work and couldn't find my phone anywhere to transfer money. Searched the whole car and my handbag, all the little gaps in my car, basically everywhere, and I just couldn't find it. Turns out it was in my hand the whole time. I was using the light on it to look for my phone. Ugh. Not me, but happened toy uncle. He goes to the cinemas with his wife and parks his car in multi-level car park. Returns to the car park after the movie but he cannot locate his car. He searches all over but has no luck. Gets home by taxi and calls up the police to report his stolen car. Police investigation starts and insurance process begins as well. 2 weeks go by and by now he has a courtesy car given from the insurance company. A day before his payout is due, he receives a phone call from the police saying that the mall security reported a car that has been parked in the same location for 3 weeks, which turns out to be his car. The bad part is that when he is on the way to return back the insurance car, he ends up T-boning another car at an intersection. My uncle is found at fault for the accident and the insurance car is a write-off. Ends up costing him $1,850 Australia dollars in excess for the written-off car. Scumbag brain. Upvote for toy uncle. I'm on exam break and preparing for several upcoming big scary exams. I'd been sitting at my desk for about 6 hours straight and decided to go out for a walk to clear my head. 15 minutes out I started freaking out because I realized I hadn't saved my work before leaving the house. So I immediately turned around and headed home to save it, because, you know, the one time you don't, there's a power surge. I was nearly home when it dawned on me I'd been handwriting my notes. Then you get home, and the pen is out of ink. I left work, big huge downtown city, and took the train home for a much needed weekend. Got to my stop, and discovered I had driven Had to catch another train back to work, get car, drive home. Entire transit time went from 30 minutes to 3 hours and 30 minutes. Done. The day after I got my car license, instead of my father dropping me off at university like usual, I drove there myself. At the end of my long hard day, I walked down to the bus stop and caught a bus home, the whole time feeling as though I had forgotten something. Eventually I get home and I am met with my father asking, "Why'd you park out on the road and not in the driveway? Are you planning on going out?" My father ended up having to drop me back off at the university car park. I felt like the biggest dong. Freshman year of college. Came home for fall break. Tuesday morning comes and I wake up in my bed at 6 AM. Get showered, dressed, even grabbed my old backpack hanging where I hung it before. Went out to stand at the bus stop in front of my house. Suddenly, see the yellow light glare and strobe in the distance and realize, wait, I'm in college and live in an apartment now. Ran as fast as I could back into the house before anybody on said bus saw me. Imagine if you hadn't noticed until you were on the bus. Yesterday my dad made me email several Amazon sellers about books he had ordered but were never delivered. Today he admitted he found one of the books on a bookcase. So I searched all his bookshelves. He has a lot of books and found them all. I had to email the sellers to apologize. Several of them have already sent out replacements, so I'll have to make sure dad sends them right back. Dozy old bugger. I used to park at a garage for work, and every day I would have to inch past this car who would park in such a way that the car would stick out into the path. It would make me so mad. So finally I wrote a snotgram note telling the owner of the car that if the car got hit, it was their fault, and they need to learn how to park. It was nasty. I went to work and told my very sweet co-worker what I did and why. Turns out it was her car. Fassapum. We love being buttholes when we assume people are buttholes who deserve it, and then we get punked by reality. I went to turn my dishwasher on and it would not work. Called for warranty work, and they asked if it maybe popped a breaker, and I said no, as it does not have a separate breaker. My wife spent a week washing dishes by hand, and I was peeved that my dishwasher broke for the third time in 2 years. An hour before the repairman showed up, I went to the basement breaker box to shut the power off to the kitchen, only to find that my memory was wrong. The dishwasher does have its own breaker, and it had popped, and there was nothing wrong with the dishwasher at all. Despite the huge pain in the butt that would have been, you're lucky you figured it out before the repairman came, so you could save yourself the money. Used to live at a station where there were no ticket gates, so no need to pull out the wallet with the ticket, right? All cool. One day, reading on the Kindle on my 40 minutes commute, as I am 3 stops from my destination, which has ticket gates, I read the word wallet. Brain trips, realizes I don't have the wallet in the usual pants pocket. Freak out time, it's a big fine. Plus I have plans today for which I need cash. Resign myself to getting off at next stop, returning home, getting wallet. Get out, it is the last train of the morning peak, so the next is not for 20 minutes. Get in the train heading home after waiting and hoping no ticket inspector comes along. Get on the train home, message work to say I will be late. 10 minutes from home station. Take off coat because it is getting warm. Feel odd lump in coat pocket. Oh. At this point I have been wearing glasses regularly for at least 5 years. I was in the middle of class and started freaking out. I called my parents. Oh god, did I leave my glasses at home? They looked everywhere around the house and swore they could not find them. I almost started crying because I really can't see without my glasses. Yeah, I was wearing them. You are not alone. I foresee lots of freakouts after I will have my eyes fixed with LASIK. Lost my glasses in the library. I need them for long distances, but not for reading. So I take them off when I'm on the computer or writing something. Panicked thinking I'd not be able to drive home and searched for 20 minutes, asking about 5 people where they were. Dejectedly left the library, but then I noticed that they were in my shirt pocket. Sigh of relief and went on my way. Alternatively, losing your glasses while they're on your face. At the ATM, checking my balance, see some amount. A few days later, check again, more money. OMG, cool, I wonder who sent that to me. A few days later, wow, more and more money on my bank account. I call the customer service to ask who was sending me money. The guy tells me, "Sir, there is a little minus next to that number. Your balance is negative." I was at minus $1,000. Dang. I'm not sure that this qualifies as scumbag brain so much as insufficient user head capacity. Let's start with the one thing that comes to everyone's mind. Using my cell phone to call my cell phone to find my cell phone. I insisted to a police officer that I had been pickpocketed, made a report, then got a call from my bank as a kind lady had seen my wallet on the ground, found my bank card, and called her son who worked at my bank so that he could find me. Then I went to pick it up from her. All the cash was still in it and she refused any kind of reward. I went back to the police officer to explain that I'd made a mistake. All this was done in a foreign country and a foreign language, so I probably sounded like even more of an butt than I felt like. Dunno how that would make you an butt. If my wallet suddenly disappeared, I would think it was either a pickpocket or it fell out somewhere. I somehow managed to run up an extra flight of stairs in my block without noticing and then spend 10 angry minutes trying to gain entry to the apartment above mine, wondering why my key wouldn't work. So glad no one was home, or maybe they were and were just quietly cowering the other side of the door, terrified of the lunatic trying to break into their home. One time there was $100 missing out of my bank account. I went to the bank to see what happened and they told me when and where it was taken out of my account. I couldn't remember going to that ATM as it was on the other side of town and I rarely went there. The lady at the bank kept grilling me about who I'll let access my card and kept insinuating that I gave my PIN to someone. I got angry and insisted that it was stolen or there was a bank error. She finally agreed to open up an investigation, saying that they have cameras at all ATMs and they would find out. But if it turned out to be legit, then I would be held accountable for the costs of investigations. When I was on my way home from the bank, I remembered when I took that money out. I felt like such an butthole and I was too embarrassed to go back. I waited until after the bank closed and left a voicemail explaining that I figured it out and never went back to that branch again. Man, in the future just be chill with people who are there to help you. They undeservedly get crap all day long and they are usually cool in trying to fix your errors and mistakes. Not you specifically, but you. When I got the new iPhone 4 and made my first phone call, I realized that the volume was really low and wouldn't get any louder. I angrily called the Apple customer service number and proceeded to tell them how crappy the phone sounded and how annoyed I was. The guy asked if I had taken the plastic screen cover off. I quickly hung up. Got into a heated argument on the phone with my girlfriend while driving. I ended up throwing my phone down on the back and headed to Taco Bell for some fast food therapy. I pulled into the drive-thru, ordered, paid, and drove off. Before getting any of the items I ordered, it took me about 45 seconds of sitting at the traffic light on the opposite end of the parking lot to realize what my scumbag brain had done. I was too embarrassed to go back. TLDR. Ordered Taco Bell. Paid for the food, left before receiving food. I once had to go to the DMV to clear up a problem with my car's license plates being expired and not renewable. Drove there, waiting my 2 hours in line, paid my pound of flesh and was told it'd be cleared up in a couple of weeks. I go back out to the parking lot, walked to the spot where I'd parked, and my car wasn't there. Panicked, thought maybe I'd confused what spot I'd parked in, and ran around the parking lot. Not there, son of a frack. My car was stolen at the freaking DMV. Went inside, told them my car had been stolen, borrowed the phone to call the police, went back outside to wait for the cops, fuming at how crappy this day had become. Saw my girlfriend's car, and was puzzled how she'd known I needed a ride when I realized I'd driven her car because mine didn't have valid plates. I hadn't given the cops my name. So I snuck into my girlfriend's car and was guiltily driving out of the parking lot when they arrived. I didn't stop and talk to them because I was so embarrassed. I am a bad man and still feel shame to this day. One morning I get up, go for my normal morning crap and discover that what seemed like 1,000 liters of dark blood was in my crap and immediately thought I had ass cancer, was dying. So I then proceed to ring up work. Tell them I am going to the doctor and make my way there crying about the fact that I am far too young to be dying of cancer. I wasn't until I was literally crossing the threshold into the doctor's office that I remembered that I had eaten nearly 2 cans of beetroot the night before, and that was what was staining my crap dark red. Obviously I am ultra stoked that I am not dying of ass cancer as I realize this, so I have a massive smile on my face and proceed to tell the doctor the whole stupid story and then waltz out of the office. Had to pay $50 but I didn't care because I was going to live. So I'm sleeping all comfy when I roll over and look at my alarm clock. I see that it says 6:45. I freak out because work starts at 7. Rush to get dressed and leave. Get to work. Realize not only is it Sunday but it was 7 PM not 7 AM. The other day I had walked halfway to uni for a test when I suddenly realized I had forgotten my wallet, which had my university in it. So I ran back home, searching all round the house before realizing that it was actually in my bag the whole time. All seemed alright at this point, but then in the rush I completely forgot where I had dropped my bag to start the search in the first place. Took me an extra 5 minutes of searching before I realized it was sitting in the middle of the driveway. Luckily after a sprint to uni, I still managed to make it on time, but that was a pretty poor moment from me really. Think my brain was too distracted going over the course material in my head. I was in a restaurant with my ex where my sister worked. It was raining, so my GF had her umbrella on the floor next to us, drying off. A couple on the table next to us finished their meal and left. As they walked out, I noticed them putting up a black umbrella, identical to my girlfriend's. I looked at the floor and ours was gone. I quickly informed my sister, who sent one of the waiters to chase down the brolly thieves. Whilst he was running up the street, I caught something on my foot under the table and my heart sank. It was the umbrella. I still cringe every time I think about that, and it was over 5 years ago. Hold on mom, I'll call you back. I think I left my cell phone in the car, an actual thing I have said while talking on my cell phone. I once was driving home from class on the other side of campus, stopped at the gas station to grab a pack of smokes, parked, like a douchebag not in a spot but outside the main door, bought my cigarettes and walked the rest of the way home, completely missing the fact that my car was sitting right there, running. When I walked out, I was home for about an hour before I realized I didn't have my keys. Ran back and it was still sitting there, running. Went to the bus station and lit up a smoke on the way. There was wind blowing towards me, so I turned around to lit up the smoke and walked straight back home. As I stood in front of my home door I realized I changed the direction after I lit up the smoke. Missed my bus, missed an imported class. Dang those foreign classes. I was drinking out of a really colorful mug full of water. Started talking to a co-worker about the designs on our mugs. I turned my mug upside down to check and see what design was on the bottom. Had to work the rest of my shift in soggy, squeaky shoes. I was in a panic trying to find my phone the other night. Admittedly I was slightly intoxicated. It was our routine card game we had every so often, complete with adult beverages and deafening music. In my haste I had my buddy call my phone, only to realize where it was when he called it. The ringtone echoed loudly through the Bose system it was docked on. I have 2 dogs I walk every night before bed. One night the one dog wouldn't get up, so I only walked the other. Halfway through the walk I started freaking out, calling for the dog whom I had left at home. I looked everywhere and had several neighbors looking too. Eventually it hit me and I called off the search. People kinda gave me a pass because they knew I was stoned. I once parked my car on the street in downtown Cleveland with all 4 windows rolled down and the driver's side door unlatched. How it was not stolen will forever remain as one of life's many mysteries. All I can come up with is that potential thieves thought it to be an obvious bait car. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.